I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, March the 3rd, brought to you in part by Vitalix. An all-natural, high-quality protein and energy tub helps fight off the cold. Get the blue tub. Visit Vitalix.com. Texans free at last. Wow, we got surprised on Tuesday with Governor Abbott telling us Texans down here that starting on March the 10th, we won't have to wear a mask anymore and we can go back to 100% open. I guess March the 9th is too soon. I'm not exactly sure why they didn't say enough's enough and turn us loose right away. Would have been nice to get that done before the American Rodeo started this weekend. But, you know, we love our governor. We always have. We've got a great governor, Abbott, down here in Texas, and we normally always agree with him. But he's ruffled some feathers in the last year or so, caving more than what we thought he should to the shutdowns and things like that. He wasn't nearly as open as they were in places like Florida, and you know, I would say that we would be more conservative than Florida, but still. But he needed some positive press as far as voters go. And of course the big cold spell that happened 2 weeks ago in Texas that really affected Central Texas, South Texas and places, you know, that was a big flop. And you know, when he's in charge, he has to own some of that. So he was needing a positive as far as his conservative base and his voters go. But we're nonetheless, we're tickled to death to throw these masks away. You know, those that were wearing them. I tell you what, I guess they wore them in the high concentration areas and in the cities. But as far as rural towns in Texas, small town Texas, country life in Texas, you rarely saw a mask anywhere, especially for the last 3 or 4 months. You know, for the most part, but. Most all your schools stayed open in Texas. We worked right through it. We haven't been able to fill the restaurants and bars to full capacity for a year now. But you know, we're going to get back to normal, and I think we've seen some other places that have done it, and we feel pretty confident that we can do that. I told you guys on the previous visit that the Cattle Market Transparency Act was going to be introduced into the Senate this week. It happened on Tuesday. Deb Fisher's office and her aides got busy, put things together, and they introduced that bill with a co-sponsor of Ron Wyden, a Democrat from Oregon. And so that's great. We've got bipartisan support for this. We're looking for more co-sponsors. Those of you that have some leadership that would be willing to get behind something that's a positive for grassroots cattle industry, you know, we need them, and we need as many as we can get. And there's some out there that have already said that they intend to sign on here to be a co-sponsor for this bill. But it got introduced with Deb Fisher and Ron Wyden. But that's a good deal, and we're really hoping that goes a long ways. We're not expecting a vote on that right away. We just want to build up as much support as we can on that bill, and then attach it to something like reauthorization of mandatory price reporting to get it approved. And that won't be till probably this fall sometime. But still, we need to continue to build excitement, support for Cattle Market Transparency Act. It not only does the minimum negotiated cash trade, but it also calls for that library of your contracts, your formulated contract deals, so people can see what's out there. Transparency, that's a big part of the bill. Also calls for as much reporting and as loose a confidentiality as we can possibly get. And we need all those things here if we're going to compete with this monopoly known as your beef packing industry. And talking about that, I've been visiting for the last several days, or especially this week anyway, about people talking about things, and was visiting with a Feeder Flash gang member just on Monday night, and he was saying, you know, don't these packers know that they need producers, and a lot of people think that this Cattle Market Transparency Act is just for the feedlots. It's primarily for producers and backgrounders and growers of cattle, because they are losing their market really fast. And as long as these big packers cannot, or these big feedlots cannot get a good market price or ever make any money, they're going to give less for their yearling feeders, who's going to give less for the calves, and we've got to keep this industry viable. But this individual is saying, don't they know they need the producers? What's their end game on continuing to keep their foot on the heads of these guys and keep them underwater, and try to fend off any kind of legislation or ideas or anything that comes along that tries to help cattle producers and cattle backgrounders, cattle growers stay in business? And we visited about it. Frankly, if you look at it, the way it's going is your ranchers, your cattle producers, your cow-calf men, and the like. They're going to continue to fight this because that's all they know. They're going to spend $850 plus to keep a cow around for a year, and then sell a calf that will barely bring that if it does. So they're beating their head against the wall, not really gaining any ground any time, and to live and to get by, they're continuing to whittle away at the equity that many of them's grandfathers put into the land that they're working. And so, they're getting a little bit further behind, a little bit further behind, and a little bit further behind all the time, until they're going to lose those places. And then it's not that your packers want those. They'd be perfectly happy to see the environmentalists take over that ground, let the liberal government take that ground back, or force people off of it. And then your packers would like to do the cow-calf production in a confinement facility where they can control it all, and then they'll get those calves grown for a little bit, and then contract them to their corporate feeder buddies and let them grow them on up to a slaughter weight, and then they can do a formula on them in that way. And you think, well, there's no way that they could handle as many cattle as we're handling right now. Likely not, but maybe that's why they're so heavily influenced, and they're so heavily invested in some of these fake meat companies. They're going to get their share of the protein dollar wherever it comes from. They've got all the major meats covered. They've got heavy investment into your fake meats. They just want to maintain or grow their share of the protein dollar. And and to heck with everybody else. To heck with rural America. To heck with the rancher. For sure, to heck with you guys that enjoy buying calves and growing them to a heavier weight, your backgrounder guys, your grazers. And if you guys can't see that, I know that there's a lot of things that are happening right now that you can't believe that are happening, but you need to believe this is happening. And need to pay attention to it. Let's look at the board on Tuesday. April live cattle futures up 45 cents at 119.42. June up a quarter at 117.75. Going out from there down a quarter to up 52 cents, and just kind of jostling around in a range there. March feeder cattle down 67 cents at 136.52. April down 65 at 140.47. Going out from there, your back months on feeder cattle down 32 to up 40. Corn and beans jumped again on Tuesday. March corn was up 13.25 cents at 5.60 3/4. We're getting up there, flirting with $6 bushel corn now, guys. You thought 5 was something. How about your beans? Soybeans were up 21.5 on Tuesday at $14.14 a bushel. Let's talk about your fat cattle trade, which was non-existent. We haven't seen anybody really cave so far this week, just out on a private treaty basis. But we did learn one thing. We got some results from the Texas pool, and that's what the Consolidated Beef Producers have put together, the sealed bid Tuesday trade that they're trying to get cattle or people to consign their cattle to out of the feed yards, and they're asking for good grid cattle, 64% dressing cattle, 70% choice cattle. So they've been getting those. Haven't gotten quite as many as they want, but it's been building. And so they've been getting along pretty good, and we got a lot of supporters. But many of their consigners were concerned that when they consigned those better cattle like that, they were giving up premiums. And so instead of the Texas cash pool, and we did have Kansas cash pool 1 week there, but it's hard to get those Kansans kind of herded together. They haven't had it since. Well, it's shut down for the cold weather by 1 week. But we talk about your Texas cash pool. Now it's just a Texas pool. So instead of just a cash bid on those cattle live basis, it's going to be an adjusted grid base live FOB price, which you probably don't see all those things put together, especially the FOB. But that's what they're doing. They're asking for a base price. So that's par choice 3 cattle there, but they're opening them up to the premiums, and it's pretty much the same grid that Consolidated Beef Producers uses all the time whenever they sell cattle on grid there. But it's got some changes in that. They're bringing it back to a live price to kind of show people where it's at. And then they're open to premiums and discounts, but especially on this deal, it's been the better cattle. And typically on the type of cattle they've been selling on this Texas cash pool, those cattle would bring back somewhere in the $3 range premium. So your winning bid on Tuesday on 775 head was $113.11. So you're thinking, well, that's lower than what your cash price was last week. But leaving that open to premiums, you could expect that to be somewhere in the 116 range. So that's pretty darn good. And they did this for the consigners, not necessarily the packers here. The consigners, they said, hey, we're giving you our best cattle. We want to be open to some premiums. And I tell you what, it's, you know, and they can do with whatever they want to with their cattle, and if that's the way they want to do it. But it's really kind of curious, I guess you could say, that cattle people, you know, a lot of them are not excited about this Cattle Market Transparency Act, and they're worried about putting these packers under a minimum mandate negotiated cash trade, because so few of them want to negotiate cash trade anymore. They get so excited about these premiums. You know, you could flip them a quarter out of your pocket, but promise them a premium on the other end, and they get all giddy about it. And that's kind of the way the whole industry is going. You can give them a shitty bid with a little bit of a premium on it, and as long as they outdid their neighbor or somebody else that they know, they're tickled to death. And that's what you hear when you talk about people that love grid sales or love formulated deals, is they say, plus the market, plus the market. You know, all you dumbasses out there that are selling cash, I plussed it. I beat you out 50 cents or $1.00. You know, really? You know, and that's why we're where we at, is because we can't work together on deals, and your packers can. They will absolutely work together every day of the week, and we can't work together. Everybody's just elbowing and wanting to lean up to the front and you know, I beat that guy, I outdid him. Well, you know, however you want to put it. If you're selling 64% dressed cattle, probably 90% or better black hided, and 70% choice, and you're plussing the market by 50 cents or $1.00, I'd rather have the cheap cattle and sell them on the average. But let's talk about your box beef cutout values. They were down big, been down big all this week. They were up there right during the worst of February, when they never are, and then now we're getting into March, and you can kind of see down the tunnel there. We're going to have some spring buying there, a light at the end of the tunnel, and now they've fallen out of bed, especially choice. Look at choice cuts on Tuesday afternoon, $234.68, down $4.35. Select down $147 at $226.17. Your slaughter is keeping up pretty good, 243,000 just through the first 2 days. That's 2,000 more than last week. 4,000 less than the same week a year ago, but not bad. What else is going on? You guys pay attention. Bieber Red Angus sale is tomorrow on Thursday. It's on Thursday, March the 4th, 1 o'clock p.m. Central. You can either go to Leola, South Dakota, and go to the ranch and have the big feed and be there and enjoy the sale, or you can get on dvauction.com, view and bid that sale right there. But you want some top Red Angus genetics from an outfit that's name pulls some weight and perks ears up, especially if you're raising cattle and you've got Bieber Red Angus genetics in there. Your feeder cattle buyers, pay attention. And if you're wanting to raise some replacement quality heifers, there's another instance where you would be glad to use that Bieber Red Angus name there. But don't forget the sales on Thursday, tomorrow, March the 4th, 1 o'clock p.m. Central. 85% of the bulls, of their bulls in the offering, qualify for top dollar Angus. So get in there and bid that sale up. BieberRedAngus.com, or go to dvauction.com, hunt up the Bieber Red Angus sale in the upcoming events, and you can go on there and look at their videos. They got videos on all the bulls. You can look at their online catalog and kind of shop around and see what you might be interested in bidding on the sale at 1 o'clock on Thursday. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV Auction. Late today on Tuesday at 136.05, down $1.10. That's down pretty tough. I'll tell you what, it's been a little bit tough around with the heavy receipts that we've seen already this week. You know, we're seeing a lot of sales having more cattle than what they estimated. Now, you don't see that very often, but you know, Joplin Regional Stockyards, we're only estimating about 9,000 for their Monday sale on Sunday night. And then Monday morning looked like they were going to have 10,000. That's what the mid-session report said. That's what I told you guys yesterday that they had on Monday. But actually they ended up with 13,500 head. Now, I've heard of underestimating your receipts, but that's ridiculous. And why is that? We're backed up a little bit selling cattle. Guys had cattle that they weren't able to get rid of in the cold snap there. It's been beautiful weather here recently, and the roads are good and everything's good. The market's under some pressure because of the sheer supplies that there are of them, but they think they want to go ahead and get rid of them here while they got an opportunity to do that. So we also saw Ozarks Regional Stockyard on Tuesday underestimate. They were only estimating 3,000 head, ended up with over 4,500 head. That's a big percentage on the underestimation there. And their market was higher. One of the few markets that I've seen around this week so far that was quite a bit higher. Steer calves $3 to $6 higher. Heifer calves steady to $3 higher. Feeder steers $2 to $3 higher. And not a good test on the heifers, but I talked to my friend market reporter there that I used to work with, Dan Hill, and he said they could have stood a lot more cattle. They had a lot of buyers in there. And what do they like to buy at Ozarks at West Plains? They like to buy those crossbred. They guys still have continental cross calves there, kind of hard wintered calves there that will absolutely explode when you turn them out for the summer grass. And the buyers are starting to migrate in there and get up to the edge of their seat when they see those calves. There will be a lot of them come through here over the next several weeks between now and early grass turnout. So there'll be a lot of buyers going into Ozarks Regional Stockyards, West Plains, Missouri. And you can view and bid their sales on dvauction.com, of course. How about Kimball Livestock Exchange, Kimball, South Dakota, 4,800 head there on Tuesday. Had a good run there, and you look at this automated market report as it's not reported anywhere else, but you can see that the market was a little bit lower. But man, you remember I quoted some of the quotes there last week. They had such a barn burner last week. It was the highest sale just about all week last week, and they were off of that just a little bit. Oh, your feeder cattle weights, some steady to $5 lower. $5 lower would be the extreme. Steer calves were higher. But give you some representative weights there and prices. How about 777 head of 7-weight steers, average 759 at 140.72. That was down about $4 on your weighted average. Over 1,300 head of 8-weight steers in Kimball, South Dakota, averaged 862 at 132.13. That was about $4 off too on the weighted average. How about some heifers? 541 head of 7-weight heifers, averaged 741 at 130.48. That was about steady to a buck lower. And then 516 head, 850-pound heifers on the average of the 8 weights there. And the average price was $123.32. Kimball Livestock Exchange, Kimball, South Dakota. How about some stick-out sales? Denny Rezac Livestock Commission, St. Mary's, Kansas. They're starting to get some top calf quotes in there. They've been selling the yearlings and the big feeding bunches, and the loads there are really high. How about this calf quote out of St. Mary's? 75 head, 477-pound steer calves bring $2 a pound. Had a good run there, about 2,500 head there for Rezac Livestock Commission. But the top quote that I saw anywhere, and your Zactran top quote for the day, come out of Fredonia, Kansas right there. They had a long string of cattle in there, sorted up in some big drafts there. There was only one big load on this deal, but they actually sold them together. 180 head, Piedmont, Kansas there, 600-pound steer calves, 168.35. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.